for those who have returned from our Family and Friends Day on last Sunday, and for those new faces we see today. For those who will be joining our membership on today, we want to thank God for them. The new members that we will receive at the end of our service on today, we give God praise. I want to appreciate, need to make one correction. Dr. Martin was very excited, but I want to thank God for our master of ceremony, not our mistress of ceremony, our master of ceremony. Last I heard, he's a male, so amen. And so we honor you, man of God, and thank God for our choir, our ensemble, and for our exhortation, and all that we've done has been up to this point to give glory. Our praise team, all that's been done to give glory and honor to God. This first Sunday is not a good Sunday for me because by the time I get there with the choir, I'm really ready to go downstairs and get some ribs and some chicken. I'm totally exhausted right now. Things I used to do, I'm slowly finding out I can't do it anymore. I used to be the marathon man, 24 hours, nonstop, the Energizer, rabbit, not bunny, rabbit. But time has made a change. And so I thank God that I've been able to serve him in my youth. Now that I'm older, I don't mind seeing you younger folks praise, because I remember when I was younger, they couldn't sit me down. I wasn't out of order, but every time you talked about praising God, I was there, because I know God is worthy to be praised. Somebody ought to tell God thank you. I want to appreciate those who will be celebrating birthdays this week, and I looked and I saw a name and I was trying to figure out who that was, but we want to certainly honor a very fine member of our church who celebrates her birthday this Thursday on December the 9th, and that is missionary Margaret Brunson. And then we want to appreciate, I got thrown off a little bit because I was trying to figure out by the prefix who it was, but on the 10th of December, it's Sister Faith Martin. You would not believe how I'm trying to figure out who is Sister Faith Martin until I realized that's my granddaughter, Sister Faith, God bless her. And going into next week, but there's nothing wrong with making mention of it now. She's such a hard worker in our church, and she is the president of our music department, missionary Donzetta Harris, on the 14th. I want to bless the Lord and thank him. We're excited about what God is doing, and certainly excitement is in the air. It's the time to be excited. There's been a lot going on this week, and quite a few deaths. We just learned that Mother Pope, who is the mother of one of the young ladies that my wife grew up with. And as a matter of fact, when my wife was trying to avoid me, and when I was trying to talk to her, she was acting like she wasn't interested, trying to play hard to get. She would run over Mother Pope's house when I called her house. Then when I called Mother Pope's house, she'd run back home, and they, she wasn't there until I finally made up my mind. I ain't calling no more. And 40 years later, you see she's sitting here. I didn't call no more. Something. There's an old saying. I won't say it now. If you love something, leave it alone. If it's for you, it'll come to you. If it was never meant for you. want to bless the Lord. We are studying in prayer for Minister Jackie Gross and Minister Nikisha. This Thursday, the wake will be held for her daughter at Simpson's at beginning, is it 5 o'clock? 5 or 6? 7, okay. The wake will be at 7 at Simpson's on 51st and Broadway, right behind Paradise Baptist. And the Friday will be the homegoing service for her daughter, and we'll begin here at the sanctuary at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and the viewing will be from 10 until 11. Asking all of our members to please make sure that you're here to support this family. Our prayers is with them, and they're going to need our prayers. Mother Pope and family in New Jersey, they're going to need our prayers. And today they're funeralizing that great evangelist that went all over the country, Elder Marshall Taylor, there in Detroit, Michigan, in Taylor, Michigan. They're funeralizing him. And there's just so many others that are going through a time of bereavement. We certainly ought to be praying that the Lord will strengthen them. Okay. The book of Proverbs, the 18th chapter and the 10th verse. While we're turning, those of you that have been missing Christian education, you certainly missed a whole lot. Well, now you see a whole lot of folks have been missing because ain't too many folks said nothing. Those of you all that have been missing Christian education, you've been missing a whole lot. I know very well we've had very good attendance, and Tuesday night was a phenomenal night. You needed to be here. We are discussing the name of our God. We're discussing him, and we're tracing the origins of his name and the power in his name, the ability to do mighty exploits in his name, the ability to claim what is yours through his name. And many of you are worried to death, fretful, you're nervous because you don't know what you possess. You don't know the key that is given to you, and the access is yours because of the name of the Lord. Our class will continue this Tuesday night, and even the following Tuesday night will be our last class of the year. We're trying to do it in 3 weeks. We know we can't. We could do it all year long, but we're going to talk about it even some more today, the name of the Lord. And I certainly am praying for, and I know you are, the people in San Bernardino. We're praying for them. I want to thank God that in the midst of tragedy, there was some safety. Elder Nate Jordan, who has preached at our church several times, worked in the building right next door to the building that was attacked. He just transferred from that building several months ago, and that was part of his unit, but God protected him. And right where the couple was killed in Redlands, Sister Deborah Taylor was working right in that section, and they were under, what do you call it? Lockdown, not arrest, lockdown, most of that day and the evening. And last week, the course that I took in grief trauma was about 7 miles from that area, and could have been right there where we were. Well, bless the Lord. And so I know there's a lot of nervousness in the country. A lot of people that feel very insecure because we now can no longer brag about what we've been bragging about as a nation, feeling that we are safe and secure enough that the enemy cannot infiltrate our territory. Who would have ever thought out of all the cities in the United States of America, there would be a small city like San Bernardino We would have thought that if anything would hit, it would hit in Houston, in Detroit, in Cleveland, Philadelphia, St. Louis, Atlanta, Miami, Los Angeles, New York. Instead, it was San Bernardino. And we are praying for those who have lost family members. But we are not to operate in our fear. We're not to be afraid. And the one good thing the president did say, going about your normal business. And I concur. Go about your normal business only if you're sure that you are safe in the arms of the Lord. If you're not safe, then you need to make your way to the altar so that God can secure you. Proverbs 18:10, and the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it. I'm sorry, I didn't give you time to stand. And is safe. You may be seated. I'll read it again. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. As we were talking Tuesday and as I begin to think on today's message, how the Lord has been described to us all through the Old Testament, not by just a name, but by a name that depicts his character. I encourage anyone that's thinking about having children, or anyone that wants to name a child, that you be very careful what you name your child, because even though that was Old Testament, you don't realize what you call something is what it can become. Yeah, you don't want to call your daughter Jezebel. You don't want to call your son Ichabod. You don't want to call your nephew Judas. And, there's a whole lot of other names in the Bible I could use. Because what's in the name? A name, when spoken, is spoken into the atmosphere. And because it's spoken into the atmosphere, and I'm glad y'all shouted, I did too, so I ain't got to tune up and holler. I can just talk to you today. Thank you so much, Sister Bernetta. What you say is many times what you cause that person to become. What you call a person, when you call them out of their name, can cause them to take on the characteristics of the thing you just called them. It's the same as it was in the Bible. Names have power, and they speak very strongly and indicate what that person is really all about. I never will forget when my son and daughter, my daughter had the younger daughter, and he was trying to decide, because they had all kinds of names they were going to call her. And they allowed Hannah to get this name Abigail. She had a friend named Abigail. And she wanted her sister to be named Abigail. Everyone was talking, putting names together. I saw my son when he picked up his newborn, and he said, "This feels like faith. This feels like faith." And called her Faith. And since then, we've had to walk by faith. But it is so important that we understand about God. We don't know him. We praise a God we don't know. We rejoice over God we really don't know. And I know you're quiet because that seems like totally erroneous information. But the reason why I'm sure you don't know him is because if you knew him, you would not be dealing with some of the things you're dealing with in your life. You would understand his attributes, understand his character, what makes him who he is, and what he has come to become in your life. I'll say that again. You catch that. What he has already come to become. Because when you understand his character and his attributes, you understand he's not becoming something, but he is already what he shall be and what he was and what he'll be forevermore. So there are many names that was given to this spirit called God. The word Yahweh is most frequently used in the Old Testament, and it's commonly translated as the Lord. Give me a few minutes. I know where I'm going. But if you understand the original writing, the name of the Lord not only was a strong tower, but it was a sacred name. It was so sacred until when they called Yahweh, it was written in all capitals. It was so sacred until when they even said his name or wrote his name, the A and the E was taken out because they feared even pronouncing or saying it. It was so sacred to them. It's the name that's given to the true God. You understand Yahweh. Yahweh is the personal and intimate name that God gave to Israel when he made a covenant with them to be their God as he delivered them from Egypt. It's also the name he gave to Eve. It's the name he gave to Noah and Abraham. Adam lay with his wife, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. She said, with the help of Yahweh, or the Lord, I have brought forth. She realized she was not able to do it herself, but it was the help of Yahweh, the help of God that brought her. It was Moses and Israel that took this name with great significance. And the Lord begins to identify himself through an invitation or even through an encounter that he had with God. The Lord spoke to him and called him by name. And the Lord gave him commandment as to what he should do and his purpose in life. And then Moses inquired and wanted to know, if I do what you tell me to do, how am I going to let the people know who has endorsed me? Let me tell you something. I need to break away for a minute and tell you, my goodness, my time is almost gone. I need to break away and tell you for a moment that anything you do, you shouldn't be out there freelancing, but you need an endorsement. Someone needs to validate you. Because if they don't validate you, your word has no validity. Someone needs to speak well of you and say that you're qualified to do what you do and say what you say. And if by chance they don't, you're just there by yourself. And anyone that knows what I'm talking about knows it's difficult to validate yourself. But God, Yahweh, is the only one I know that can validate himself. Does not need anyone to endorse him. So when Moses asked, who should I say sent me? Yahweh, God, spoke to Moses and said, tell them I am that I am. I'm not trying to become anything. I'm self-existent. No one had to do anything for me to be conceived. Before there was a wind, before there was a where, before there was an earth, before there was stars, before there was a moon, before there were waters, before there were fish in the sea, before there was anything that ever came into existence, not I was, but I am. Ooh, sounds like bad English, but it's the proper way to identify our God. While you're living in the past, you lived in the past, you're looking forward to the future, the ever-present God, every day is the present with him. That's why he said, I'm the same. I don't change. I'm the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. I don't think there's anybody in the house that can say I'm the same person I was yesterday. Because something has changed in your life in the past 24 hours. Maybe you lost about three hairs out of your weave. Maybe you developed a cavity. Y'all ain't saying much to me. I never will forget when I started going bald. It was one of the most traumatic experiences in my life. I was combing my hair and saw my hair falling out of my head down in the sink. And I got so upset, I stopped running the water and tried to reach down in the sink and put the hair back in my hand. But because I'm only finite, and because this hair was only temporal, y'all ain't saying that. And because the 32 teeth you had in your mouth were only temporal. Y'all ain't saying nothing to me. And because the black that's on your hair is only temporal. And because that size 12 you had is only temporal. God is the only one that can say I am. I'm eternal. And if you live to be another 10,000 years old, you'll see no variance in me. I'm the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. I wish I had about 5 people just to tell God thank you. I see I'm not going to have time to finish this. I'm going to have to finish this up in Bible study. We'll be right back on this. But his name is eternal. His name is referred to as his preexistence, his eternity. And he always existed. The name Yahweh means God is unchangeable. God's name is I was. The name Yahweh represents the covenant relationship. And that's why I say many of us sing, shout, dance in his name. But the reason why we don't know him is because we